Hello, everyone. My name is Jacob Forton. I'm the host of this podcast, Doers Within Emerging Markets. And I just want to share my experience with using Anchor so far. When the pandemic started, I thought about starting a podcast, and the whole idea was to bring in some really amazing folks that are doing some great work in their respective industries within the emerging markets. And the Anchor platform really helped me get the word out there and also just make it a lot easier for me to invite the guest and just share the amazing experiences they've had and the amazing work they're doing in their respective industries within the emerging markets. Um, it's pretty fun. You don't even worry about the technical part of making a podcast. You actually just focus more on the content. And Anchor has done it really well for me. So I will highly encourage anybody who is trying to start a podcast to try to use. Just check out Anchor, and I think you won't regret it. I'm not a technical person, but if you listen to these episodes that I've been publishing so far, it seems like I know what the technical part of it, but Anchor helps you take care of the technical part, and you just focus on the content. So feel free to check it out. I highly encourage. You won't regret it, and it's right there. You don't pay anything. So in times like this, I think starting a podcast and getting the word out there, irrespective of what you're doing, will be a really great experience. So thank you guys for listening to my episodes. Please check out Anchor, and you will have a great time. So cheers, guys, and see you guys next episode. Thanks.
Welcome to Time for Emerging Markets, Doers Within Emerging Markets podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Forton, and thanks for stopping by on this podcast. Today, we're talking about a very fascinating book I've been reading recently, giving you some macro level analysis of how to penetrate the African market. Um, this is quite an interesting book, and I actually think this book is actually meant for people, um, for corporations or big businesses that want to penetrate the African market. The title of this book is called Africa's Business Revolution: How to Succeed in the World's Next Big Growth Market by Acha Leke, Mutsa, I think it's Mutsa Krimonga, and Georges uh, Desvaux. It's kind of bad reading names, but it's called Africa's Business Revolution: How to Succeed in the World's Next Big Growth Market. And I've been reading this book. So far, I'm almost done, 84%, using the audio version. And something that's been really uh, just like a macro level analysis of the book is the book actually has a lot of data. So it gives you a lot of data. If you're someone who is data driven, this book is for you. In just terms of like the context of what the current climate of starting a business, or most in this context, expanding a business to Africa. They have a lot of data. Acha and Mutsa. There are McKinsey, research analysts, on a very high level, so they have access to a lot of infrastructures and tools that they can actually pull in a lot of data, as well as the other author from Asia. But they have all the infrastructure in place for a lot of high resource data collection. So the book is very rich in data. So if you're someone that is intrigued by data or is driven by data, this book is for you. So that's the first thing, and I think based on that, the foundation is the data is very strong. The second thing is it kind of gives you that it kind of redefine what you think of Africa, right? In spite of the challenges and all the you know of what we see on the surface level, right? Political instability, you know, um, which leads to uncertainty, just like the market fragility, right? That comes with it just in relation to political instability, but it's just like sometimes like the currency fluctuation, or that you cannot really bank yourself on saying that this continent is gonna make it. But I think in spite of that, if you look at it based on some of the examples that's provided in the book, there's some case we made that if you follow the right structure with the right with the right framework, of understanding where to penetrate the market and how to do it well, you can actually make a very successful business in Africa. And the third that was really intriguing to me is like some of the examples that they gave that were local successful businesses. Some example, a really good example is the Dangote Group in Nigeria. Someone who is in the locally has a very huge local presence in Nigeria. Actually, Aliko Dangote, who is the chairman of Dangote Group, has literally built a multi-billion-dollar enterprise in Africa. Everything based, from Africa. He has some really, really incredible infrastructure from oil. He started with cement. He does sugar and all these other basic accessories. But just gives examples of like people that have been there locally and have made it really well. And I do think that's important because for the most part, and especially a book I'm writing now, is to kind of give the importance of what we have there locally is actually very strong. It's just that we need to find those people. Those people are there. And there's some people that are willing to support us, but it's just finding the right connection, finding the right interaction, finding the right sourcing. We can literally create something for all the Africans in diaspora out there or non-Africans who are interested in building business in Africa. There's a lot of opportunities down there, but sometimes we don't know, right? But I think this book, most importantly, provides us three things I mentioned: the good data, it kind of redefines what we think of risk, right? Because it suggests, which point to, we suggest that always think of, we look at the surface problems and say, oh, don't get into that continent. But beyond that, if you really can flip the coin, which what entrepreneurs do, and use those disadvantages as ways to find opportunities, you can actually create a lot of value, economic value and social value in a way that will go a long way, and you have a higher return economically than most of the other emerging markets. So that's a very key point. And third, there's some local success stories that he actually leads another book that I'll probably I've started reading as well, and I'll provide a review. It's called The Africa's Billionaire, written by the founder of Forbes Africa, that kind of shows some local billionaires in Africa who built successful businesses and they're billionaires. So there's a huge presence of local opportunities, but also local entrepreneurs that have made it on the continent, which should inspire all the Africans in diasporas out there. Just to reference, the book I'm writing is called Uncovering Wealth, and I'm trying to provide 3 sections that I think will be helpful to everyone out there, irrespective of whether you're an African in diaspora or just a non-African, or someone who just intrigued by the continent. I think one is I want to give my personal experience of what of my business interest and also my business projects that I had intended to build on the continent and the struggles I went through there. The second is second section I want to talk about some of the people I've talked to through this podcast and how I learned from them and got some key lessons of how to build successful businesses on the continent. And the third is a recommendation based on a collection of my personal experience plus these lessons learned and how we can move forward in the future, especially with post-COVID on the African continent. So with all the books I'm reading, I hope that can translate into something that's more than helpful and intriguing to you. And you can find this podcast, the book, and every other platforms I'm building and creating for you to see that this Africa is a place to invest time in. It's a place to actually be excited about. And hopefully you get the time to read some of these books or listen to some of the intriguing entrepreneurs that I've been able to talk to on this podcast. The last episode I had Liz Grossman from Baobab Consulting in Senegal. And her story is very exciting. Talked to Cece, doing some amazing stuff in China, and many other amazing entrepreneurs on this platform. So feel free to check out the earlier episodes. Subscribe, follow this podcast, and more exciting things become your way. I have a YouTube channel as well that I translate some of these episodes on the YouTube channel. You can check that out. It's just if you just Google Jacob Fortune YouTube, you will see my channel, and you can actually see some of the videos of the interviews I've been doing. So you can check that out as well. But this I think is an exciting time for Africa. This is a very exciting time for all of us to really get start talking about how we can be part of the Africa's revolution. And I'm excited for all of you guys joining me in this journey. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care and have a great week.